The first time HR accused me of dating my boss, I laughed. Actually, no, that's not true. The first thing I did was choke on my coffee. The second thing I did was laugh. The third thing I did was realize nobody else in the room was laughing, which was concerning. Because I wasn't dating my boss. I wasn't even friends with my boss. My boss barely qualified as a stable life form. And yet somehow, according to the entire office, we were apparently having a workplace romance. Leo? I blinked. Across the table, Denise from HR looked deeply unimpressed. Do you find this funny? No. Pause. A little. Leo. Sorry. I wasn't sorry. I was confused, extremely confused. The kind of confused where your brain stops working and starts buffering, like an old laptop trying to load 20 tabs at once. Because, and I cannot stress this enough, I was not dating my boss. I was trying to date someone else. Unfortunately, my boss seemed determined to prevent that from ever happening, which is how this entire disaster started. But before I explain why HR thought I was secretly making out with my manager, I need to take you back 6 months to my first day, the day everything went wrong. Or right, depending on how much emotional damage you're willing to tolerate. My name is Leo Carter. I'm 24 years old. I'm a graphic designer, and at the time, I had exactly 3 goals. Goal number 1, keep my job. Goal number 2, survive probation. Goal number 3, try not to embarrass myself. Looking back, I achieved approximately 0 of those goals. The office belonged to a marketing and design company called Bright Forge Creative, which sounds impressive, but mostly meant a bunch of sleep-deprived adults arguing over fonts. If you've never seen 2 designers fight over typography, congratulations. You're mentally healthier than the rest of us. My first day started with optimism, which should have been my first warning sign. Because whenever I'm optimistic, the universe immediately takes it personally. I arrived 20 minutes early, coffee in hand, resume polished, confidence at an all-time high, and immediately walked into a glass door, not dramatically, just enough to make a very loud sound, the kind that turns heads. Lots of heads, important heads, professional heads, the heads of people responsible for deciding whether I deserved employment. Fantastic start. Absolutely incredible. No notes. I stumbled backward while pretending that hadn't happened, which was difficult because everyone had very clearly watched it happen. A woman near reception winced. A man coughed suspiciously into his hand. Someone whispered, "Ouch." I wanted the floor to open and consume me. Instead, the receptionist smiled politely. First day? Is it that obvious? You just headbutted the building. Fair point, a very fair point. 5 minutes later, I was sitting through orientation trying to convince myself things could only improve. This was incorrect. They got worse. Much worse. Specifically around 10:30, when I met my boss. Now, when people imagine bosses, they imagine confidence, authority, leadership. Mr. Sterling had those things, technically. The problem was he also had the energy of someone who hadn't slept since 2019. He entered the conference room carrying 3 coffees, a laptop, 2 folders, and what appeared to be pure anxiety. Everything immediately fell. The coffees survived. Nothing else did. Folders exploded. Papers flew. A pen hit the wall. Nobody reacted, which told me this happened often, very often. Sterling sighed. Good, he gathered the papers. Excellent start. Then he noticed me. New designer? Leo, he nodded. Don't be late. It's my first day. Exactly. Then he walked away. I stared after him. One of the employees beside me leaned over. Don't worry. About what? That's him being nice. That was him being nice? Good Lord. I spent the rest of the morning questioning my life choices. Around noon, I finally escaped toward the break room, which is where I encountered my second major problem. The office printer. If Satan designed office equipment, he would create that printer. It sat in the corner like a machine powered entirely by hatred. Employees approached it with fear. People whispered around it. One woman actually crossed herself before using it. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. And standing in front of the printer was the most unfairly attractive man I'd ever seen. Tall, dark hair, rolled up sleeves, annoyingly perfect jawline. The kind of face that should honestly require a permit. He was staring at the printer with visible disappointment. Come on. Nothing happened. He pressed another button. The printer made a noise. A terrible noise. the sound of mechanical suffering. Then smoke appeared. A little bit, but still. Smoke. "That's new," he said. I laughed. He looked over, blue eyes, friendly smile. And suddenly my brain forgot every word in the English language. Amazing, fantastic, strong opening." I pointed at the printer. "Smoke." He nodded, observant. "Oh, good." I set my coffee down. "I'm already contributing." He laughed, actually laughed. And something unfortunate happened. I liked the sound way too much. My hero. "Don't say that." "Why?" "Because I've done literally nothing." "Fair." Then he offered his hand. "Sam." And just like that, everything changed. Though admittedly neither of us knew it yet. Unfortunately, someone else noticed. From the second-floor balcony overlooking the office. A certain boss, watching us, with narrowed eyes, holding a mug that said, "World's okayest boss," a mug he had bought for himself, which should tell you everything you need to know. At the time, I didn't notice him. At the time, I was too busy talking to Sam. Too busy laughing. Too busy wondering why one conversation felt so easy, and why meeting him felt strangely important. I should have paid attention, because that was the exact moment my problems began. And in hindsight, the printer was trying to warn me. The printer always knows. The thing nobody tells you about office friendships is that they happen ridiculously fast. One minute you're strangers, the next minute you're sharing snacks, gossiping about management, and discussing whether cereal counts as soup. For the record, Sam says no. I say yes, we're still fighting about it. Anyway, after our first meeting at the printer, I expected that to be the end of it. You know, one pleasant conversation, a quick laugh, then back to being professional coworkers who occasionally nod at each other in hallways. That was the plan. The universe had other plans, specifically because the printer immediately jammed again. 3 minutes later, I wish I was kidding, the printer made a sound that can only be described as a mechanical scream. Everyone in the office collectively groaned, including Sam, including me, including a woman across the room who actually yelled, "Just let it die." Apparently, this was a regular occurrence. Sam looked at me. I looked at Sam. Neither of us said anything. Then, simultaneously, we walked toward the printer, like two idiots responding to a distress signal. "I don't even work here yet," I said, "and yet here you are. I make terrible decisions." "Good." Sam opened the printer. "You'll fit right in." I laughed. The printer did not. The printer hated joy. For the next 15 minutes, we fought for our lives. Paper jams, error messages, mysterious blinking lights. At one point, the machine displayed a symbol that looked less like a warning and more like an ancient curse. "What does that mean?" I asked. No idea. Should we be concerned? Probably. Helpful. I try. Eventually, miraculously. The printer started working again. The entire office cheered. Actually cheered. One guy stood up and clapped. A woman near accounting pointed at us. "The chosen ones." Sam bowed dramatically. I accidentally laughed so hard I nearly dropped my coffee, which unfortunately attracted attention. Specifically, boss attention. A shadow appeared beside us. I looked up and immediately saw Sterling. "Leo." "Mr. Sterling, quick question." "Sure. Why aren't you working?" I stared at him, then at the printer, then back at him. "I was fixing the printer." "You were hired as a designer." Technically, the printer needed emotional support." Sterling blinked. Sam made a choking sound beside me. I think he was trying not to laugh. Sterling sighed, a deep, exhausted sigh, the kind usually made by teachers who regret becoming teachers. Then he pointed toward my desk. "You have onboarding documents." "Oh, and deadlines. Already?" "It's noon." "That feels aggressive." His eye twitched, just slightly, then he walked away. Sam waited 3 seconds, exactly 3. Then, that was brave. I thought I was being funny. "You were." "Good." He did not. That also feels accurate. For some reason that made Sam laugh again, which immediately became one of my favorite sounds. Not that I admitted that. Obviously, I had known him for approximately 40 to 7 minutes. I wasn't completely hopeless. Yet, the rest of the week passed surprisingly well, mostly because my desk happened to be directly across from Sam's, which felt suspiciously generous on the universe's part. Now, normally, an open office is terrible. No privacy, no peace, no escape. But when the person sitting across from you is Sam, suddenly corporate architecture starts feeling inspired. Every morning he arrived with coffee. Every afternoon he stole snacks from the communal kitchen. Every evening he complained about clients. And somehow every conversation felt effortless, like we'd been friends for years, which was dangerous, because attractive people shouldn't also be easy to talk to. That's greedy. Pick a struggle. Then Friday happened. And everything got worse, in the best possible way. I was working on a logo redesign, or trying to. Mostly I was losing a fight against Adobe Illustrator, which, if you've ever used it, you understand. That software was invented by demons. I was zoomed in approximately 8,000% trying to align two shapes. A task that should have taken 10 seconds. Instead, it consumed 20 minutes and most of my dignity. Then a sticky note landed on my desk. I looked up. Sam was pretending not to look at me. I unfolded the note. It said, "Stop fighting the logo. It can sense fear." I laughed immediately, then wrote back, "Too late. It has the advantage." A minute later, another sticky note arrived. "Retreat. Live to design another day," I responded. "If I quit now, it wins." Another note, "You're losing to a circle. And honestly? Fair." A devastating point. I was writing a comeback when a voice appeared behind me. "What's that?" Every organ in my body stopped functioning. I slowly turned. Sterling. Of course, because happiness had been detected, and Sterling apparently had a notification system. I covered the sticky note. Nothing. "Then why are you hiding it?" "Privacy? This is work." That's not a real answer. Neither is privacy, apparently. Sterling held out his hand. I stared at it. He stared back. The office went silent. Everyone was watching, even accounting, especially accounting. Eventually I surrendered the note. Sterling read it. His face remained completely expressionless. Then, "You're losing to a circle?" I pointed at my screen. "I'm having a difficult day." Silence. Then, to everyone's shock, Sterling nodded. Understandable. The office collectively froze, because apparently empathy from Sterling was a rare celestial event, like a solar eclipse, or a unicorn. Then he looked toward Sam, then back toward me, then back toward Sam, and narrowed his eyes, for some reason. I didn't understand why. Neither did Sam, at least I don't think he did. Then Sterling left. The moment he disappeared around the corner, the office exploded. That was weird. Why was he staring at you? He definitely stared. I saw the stare. That was a suspicious stare. Extremely suspicious. I blinked. "What are you talking about?" Nobody answered, because office workers are cowards. They love gossip. They hate explaining gossip. The rest of the day continued normally, or at least as normally as possible. Then around 5:30, Sam appeared beside my desk. "Hey." I looked up, immediately forgetting what I was doing. Dangerous. Very dangerous. "Hey! You busy tonight?" "Now, I'd like to tell you I remained calm. I did not. My brain instantly transformed into a microwave. Busy tonight, was that a question? A friend question? A normal question? A date question? A social question? A human question? I had no idea. I panicked. Obviously. "Why?" "Smooth. Very smooth." Sam smiled. "I was gonna grab dinner." "Dinner? Dinner." My heart immediately attempted tax fraud. "Oh, there's a burger place nearby." "Right. You wanna come?" "Yeah." Too fast. Way too fast. I sounded desperate, which was unfortunate because I absolutely was. Sam's smile widened slightly. "Cool. Cool. Cool was good. Cool was normal. Cool was definitely not making me question every life choice I'd ever made." Then, a door opened, and a voice echoed across the office. "Leo? No, not now." I turned. Sterling stood outside his office, holding a folder, looking directly at me. "Can I see you for a minute?" The office groaned. Actually groaned. Multiple people, at once, like they'd witnessed a tragedy. Sam looked amused. I looked betrayed. By fate, by destiny, by the universe itself, Sterling remained oblivious. "Leo." "Yes?" "The meeting room." I glanced at Sam. Sam glanced at me, then at Sterling, then back at me. There was something very strange in his expression. Something thoughtful. Something curious. Something I didn't understand. Not yet. But what I definitely understood was this: for the first time since meeting Sam, we had plans. Actual plans. And somehow, my boss had appeared at the exact worst possible moment. Again. Which was starting to feel less like coincidence, and more like a problem. There are moments in life when you realize the universe hates you. Not casually. Not professionally. Personally. Specifically. With intent. That meeting with Sterling should have taken 5 minutes, 10 at most. Instead, it lasted an hour and 23 minutes. Yes, I checked, repeatedly, painfully, against my will. The entire time Sterling sat across from me reviewing a project that absolutely could have been an email. Actually, 3 emails, maybe 2. Certainly not an hour and 23 minutes. At minute 37, I started dissociating. At minute 52, I began contemplating whether I could fake my own death. By minute 78, I was mentally living in a cabin somewhere, off-grid. No internet, no meetings, no Sterling, just peace. Then finally, the meeting ended. I practically sprinted back into the office. Hope surged through my chest. Maybe Sam was still here. Maybe dinner was still happening. Maybe destiny hadn't completely abandoned me. The office was empty. Mostly, a few people remained. The lights were dimmer. The cleaning crew had arrived. And Sam's desk was empty. Of course it was. Naturally. Why wouldn't it be? The universe had already committed to the bit. I collapsed into my chair. Across the room, someone laughed. I looked up. A woman from marketing named Rachel was watching me. Rough night? No. You look devastated. I lost a battle. Against who? I pointed toward Sterling's office. Rachel nodded immediately. Understandable. Then she paused. You know, I should have been concerned. Whenever someone starts a sentence with, "You know, at work, disaster follows." You know what? You spend a lot of time with Sterling. I stared at her. What? She shrugged. Just saying. I'm literally not. You are. No. You are. Rachel. Leo? I pointed aggressively. He keeps calling meetings. She pointed back. He only calls meetings with you. My soul left my body. What? She shrugged again, then returned to her computer, like she hadn't just destroyed my evening. I looked around. A few other employees were pretending not to listen, which meant they were absolutely listening. Wonderful, fantastic, love that. The next week got worse. Monday morning, I arrived with coffee. Sat down, opened my laptop, prepared for a productive day, immediately received a Slack notification. From Sterling, meeting, 8:15. I checked the time, 8:03. My eye twitched. Across from me, Sam looked up from his desk. Bad news? Meeting. Already? Apparently joy is illegal. He laughed. Then sent me a message. Sam, survive. Me, tell my family I love them. Sam, too dramatic. Me, not dramatic enough. 5 seconds later, another message appeared. Sam, want lunch later. My heart did a thing, a very inconvenient thing. A thing I wished it would stop doing. Me, sure. Sam, cool, simple, casual, normal. Which is why I should have known disaster was coming. Around noon. Exactly noon, not 11:59. Not 12:01. Noon. The second Sam stood up from his chair, Sterling emerged from his office. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know where he came from. Sometimes I genuinely suspected he lived in the walls. Leo? No. Not again. Yes? Quick question. The entire office froze. Rachel slowly lowered her coffee. Sam sat back down. Not because he wanted to. Because he knew. Everyone knew. Sterling launched into a 15-minute discussion about branding guidelines. 15 minutes. Then 20. Then 30. Lunch died. A tragic death. Sam looked amused. I looked betrayed. The office looked entertained. By Wednesday, people had started making predictions. Actual predictions. On whether Sterling would interrupt my day. A spreadsheet appeared. A spreadsheet. Someone created odds. Odds. Do you understand how insane that is? Apparently accounting was taking bets. The leading category was, will Sterling summon Leo before lunch? Current odds, 93%, which was ridiculous. And also correct, because at 11:57, Leo, the office erupted. Cheers, actual cheers, someone yelled. I won $10. Sterling looked deeply confused. I looked deeply tired. Sam nearly fell out of his chair laughing. Things escalated on Thursday. Because Thursday was Coffee Incident Day. Now, Coffee Incident Day should not have become a historical event. But it did, entirely because of me and my inability to function around attractive people. The office coffee machine was broken. Again. Apparently every machine in this building was fighting for freedom. So Sam and I decided to grab coffee from a cafe down the street. Simple, normal, harmless. We walked out together, bought drinks, talked about terrible clients, talked about movies, talked about life, and for the first time, really talked. The easy kind of conversation. The kind where time moves too fast. The kind that makes you forget you're nervous. Then, while crossing the street, a car splashed water directly onto me. Not a little, a lot, an aggressive amount. I stopped, looked down, looked at my soaked shirt, then looked at the sky. Interesting. Sam was trying not to laugh. Are you okay? No. You seem okay. I've accepted death. That did it. He doubled over laughing. Actually laughing. The kind that made his shoulders shake. And honestly, worth it, completely worth it. Then he reached over and brushed something off my shoulder. Just a tiny movement, barely anything. But my brain immediately blue-screened. Reboot required. Please wait. Then, a voice. Leo? No. No. I turned, and there, standing outside the cafe, holding a coffee, was Sterling. The odds of this happening had to be astronomical. There was no way this was real. No way. Sterling looked at me, then at Sam, then at the hand still near my shoulder, then back at me. Something strange crossed his face. Not anger, not annoyance, just something. Then he nodded. Good. And walked away. That's it. Good. One word. Then gone, like a cryptid. I stared after him. Sam stared after him. That was weird. That was very weird. We continued walking. Unfortunately, someone from accounting had witnessed everything, and by the time we returned, the office had created a narrative, a horrifying narrative. Rachel met us at the door, eyes wide, grinning. Oh my God. I immediately knew whatever came next would ruin my life. What? You had coffee with Sterling? What? And he bought you coffee? What? And you two looked adorable? What? Rachel gasped. You admit it. I literally didn't. The office exploded. Questions everywhere. Rumors everywhere. Chaos. Pure chaos. Sam stood beside me trying not to laugh, which was incredibly unhelpful. Tell them. I pointed at him. Tell them none of that's true, Sam considered, then smiled. I don't know. I stared at him, betrayed, completely betrayed. Sam, what? Help me. No. Traitor. Absolute traitor. By Friday morning the rumor had evolved, as rumors do. Apparently now, Sterling secretly liked me. We'd been going on private lunches. We exchanged meaningful looks. And somehow, my personal favorite, we had matching coffee orders. I didn't even know Sterling's coffee order. For all I knew, he drank motor oil. Then things got worse, because Friday afternoon, HR emailed me. The subject line simply read, "Quick check-in." Now, maybe that sounds harmless. It isn't. Nothing good has ever started with an HR email. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I stared at the message, then at Sam, then back at the message. Sam leaned over. What is it? I turned my laptop. He read it. Immediately laughed. Immediately. The audacity. Why are you laughing? Because. Because what? His smile widened. Then he said, I think the office thinks you're dating your boss. I laughed. Because obviously that was ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. There was absolutely no way things could get that bad. Right? Right? Unfortunately, I was very, very wrong. There are certain emails that instantly ruin your day. Emails from clients. Emails that start with "per my last message." Emails marked urgent. And emails from HR. Especially when HR wants a quick chat. Because HR never wants a quick chat. That's propaganda. By Monday morning I had convinced myself the meeting was probably nothing. Maybe paperwork. Maybe benefits. Maybe they finally wanted to discuss the printer's ongoing war crimes. That seemed reasonable. What was not reasonable was the way people started acting when I walked into the office. People smiled. Not normal smiles. Suspicious smiles. The kind of smiles people wear when they know something you don't. I immediately hated it. Rachel appeared beside my desk, like a demon summoned by workplace gossip. Morning. Go away. Rude. You've earned it. She looked delighted, which was concerning. Big day. It's 9 in the morning. You have HR today, I pointed at her. You're the problem. Probably. At least she was honest. Across from me, Sam was already laughing. Wonderful. Great. Love having support. You're enjoying this way too much. I am. Why? Because you get this look. What look? The one where you're about to spiral. I gasped, offended, deeply offended. Mostly because he was right. At 10 o'clock I headed toward HR. The entire office watched me go. Not subtly, not discreetly. Openly. Like they were watching the season finale of a TV show. Someone actually whispered, "Good luck." I wanted to quit, immediately. Denise from HR sat behind her desk. She looked normal, calm, professional, which somehow made things worse. Leo. Denise. Have a seat. I sat, The room was quiet, too quiet, dangerously quiet. Then Denise folded her hands and asked, "Are you dating your boss?" I stared at her. Nothing happened. My brain simply stopped, like a computer encountering an impossible error. Loading, loading, loading. What? Your boss? I know what a boss is. Then answer the question, I laughed. Because what else was I supposed to do? It was absurd. Completely absurd, ridiculous. Nobody in their right mind would believe. Denise wasn't laughing. Oh no, she was serious. Oh my God. That's not an answer. People actually think that? She looked at me, then reached for a folder, a physical folder. That should have terrified me. It did, a little. She opened it. Inside were printed screenshots. Printed screenshots of office messages, photos, calendar invites. What kind of operation was this? I leaned forward and immediately regretted it. There was a photo of me and Sterling talking. A photo of us walking in the same direction. A screenshot showing he had invited me to multiple meetings. One picture literally showed us standing near a coffee machine. Near a coffee machine. The evidence standards in this office were apparently non-existent. What is this? Concerns. This is insanity. Possibly. Possibly. Denise sighed. Leo. Denise. The office has theories. The office needs hobbies. For the first time, she smiled, very slightly, then closed the folder. So you're not dating him? No. Good. Good? Because if you were, we'd need paperwork. I nearly fell out of my chair. Workplace romance paperwork? Who invented that? Why? How many forms existed? I didn't want answers. Some knowledge is dangerous. The meeting ended 10 minutes later. I walked out feeling personally attacked by reality, and immediately discovered my coworkers waiting outside like reporters. Rachel practically lunged. Well? No. What happened? Nothing. Liar. HR thought I was dating Sterling. The hallway went silent, then exploded. They actually asked. I knew it. You didn't know anything. True, but still. Meanwhile, Sam was sitting at his desk, watching, smiling. The worst part? He looked unfairly attractive when he smiled, which was incredibly inconsiderate. I dropped into my chair, groaning dramatically. I'm moving. Sam glanced over. Where? Another country. Little extreme. Is it? Probably. I nodded. Fair. Then he leaned back, still smiling. You know. There it was. The dreaded phrase. You know. Disaster always followed. What? I think it's funny. Which part? The office thinks Sterling is in love with you. I stared, then laughed. Because, obviously that was ridiculous. The very idea. Then I stopped. Wait. Hold on. Why did that suddenly feel awkward? I looked toward Sterling's office. His blinds were partially open. He was inside, typing, working, being weird. Normal Sterling behavior. There was no universe where... No, absolutely not. I pointed at Sam. No. I didn't say anything. You were thinking it. His grin widened. Traitor. Around lunchtime, things became significantly worse. Because someone created a conspiracy board. A real conspiracy board. With strings, and photos, and sticky notes. Now, you might think I'm joking. I wish I were. The board appeared in the break room. Nobody admitted responsibility, but everyone contributed. At the center, a photo of me, connected by red string to Sterling, coffee, meetings, calendar invites, the printer. For some reason, the printer had become a key witness. A sticky note read, "They met through work." Another raid, "He gets special treatment." Another coincidence? One note simply said, "The eye contact. I nearly passed away." Rachel appeared beside me, holding chips. "This is art. This is harassment." Same thing. No. Sometimes. Across the room, Sam was laughing so hard he had to sit down. No support, none. I had nobody. Then disaster struck. Again, because Sterling walked into the break room and saw the board. Everything froze. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Silence. Pure silence. Sterling stared at the board, then at me, then at the board again, then at me. I considered faking my own death. A second time. Finally, he stepped closer, examining the strings, the photos, the madness. Then he pointed to one picture. "This one doesn't make sense." The room collectively malfunctioned. "What?" Sterling pointed again. "This photo." Everyone leaned closer, including me, including Sam, including half the office. Sterling frowned. "I wasn't even there that day." Silence. Then he walked away. That's it. That was his concern. Historical accuracy, not the insanity, not the conspiracy board, Not the fact people thought he was dating an employee. No, the timeline. The office erupted the second he left. Meanwhile, I sat there, completely defeated. He's impossible. Rachel nodded. That's why it's funny. Unfortunately, things didn't stop there. Because over the next week, something strange started happening. Every time someone mentioned the rumor, Sam reacted. Tiny reactions. Small enough that I almost missed them. Almost. Someone would joke about me and Sterling, and Sam would immediately change the subject. Someone would ask if I had a thing for bosses, and Sam would suddenly become interested in his work. Someone would make a comment, and Sam's smile would disappear. Only briefly. Just for a second, then return. At the time, I didn't understand it. Looking back, I should have, because everyone else noticed. Everyone, including Rachel. Especially Rachel. One afternoon, she sat beside me, watching Sam across the room. Then she looked at me, then back at Sam, then back at me. Slowly, like she was evaluating a very disappointing student. What? She sighed, a long-suffering sigh, the kind usually reserved for idiots, which should have been a warning. Nothing. Rachel. Nothing. Rachel. She stood up, shook her head, and walked away, muttering something under her breath. I only caught part of it, something about hopeless. Rude. Extremely rude. What I didn't know then, what absolutely nobody bothered to explain, was that the rumor had already stopped being the biggest story in the office. Because while everyone was busy accusing me of dating my boss, a completely different problem was quietly developing. One sitting directly across from me. A problem with blue eyes, a stupidly nice smile, and feelings he was getting worse and worse at hiding. Unfortunately for him, and for me, someone was about to notice, someone very observant, someone very dangerous, someone named Sterling. There are people who enter a room, and then there are people who arrive. Alex arrived. The first warning sign was Sterling cleaning. Now, if you've never worked in an office, let me explain something. Bosses don't clean. They delegate cleaning. They schedule cleaning. They email people about cleaning. But they do not clean. Yet there was Sterling, wiping down the conference room table like his life depended on it. I walked past and stopped, then backed up, because I genuinely thought I was hallucinating. Are you cleaning? Sterling didn't look up. No. I stared. He stared. Well, as much as a person can stare while aggressively sanitizing a table. You're literally cleaning. It's called organizing. You have a spray bottle. Organized surfaces are productive surfaces. You have 3 spray bottles. Go do your work. Fair, but still suspicious. By 10 o'clock, the entire office was buzzing. Apparently, some consultant was visiting. A very important consultant. An efficiency expert. Which sounded terrifying. Anyone whose job title includes the word efficiency is a threat. That's just science. People kept whispering. Rachel appeared at my desk. Again. At this point, I was considering filing paperwork. Big day. Go away. Still rude. Still you. She accepted that surprisingly well. Then she leaned closer. They say the consultant made a CEO cry. I blinked. What? Last company? No. Apparently. That's not a consultant. That's a supervillain. Rachel nodded thoughtfully. Good point. Around 11, the consultant arrived, and suddenly Sterling's behavior made sense, because Alex was, well, Alex, tall, sharp suit, confident posture. The kind of confidence that couldn't be purchased, only earned. They walked into the office carrying a tablet and a coffee. Everyone noticed, including Sterling, especially Sterling, because Sterling immediately stood up straighter. Interesting. Very interesting. I wasn't the only one who noticed. The office noticed. The office notices everything. It's their only hobby. Alex shook a few hands, introduced themselves, smiled politely, then got to work. For the next hour, they wandered around observing people, taking notes, asking questions, watching workflows, evaluating systems, being terrifyingly competent. Then they reached my desk. Leo? I looked up. That's me. Junior designer? Unfortunately. Alex laughed, a small laugh. Dangerous, because it immediately made them more likable. Enjoying the company? I considered my answer carefully, then looked toward Sterling's office, then back at Alex. No comment. Alex followed my gaze. A tiny smile appeared. Oh, that was all they said. Oh, but somehow that felt ominous. Then they moved on. The entire interaction lasted maybe 30 seconds. I forgot about it immediately. That was a mistake, because Alex did not. Around lunchtime, disaster struck. Again, shocking, I know. Sam rolled his chair toward my desk. Food? Food. A beautiful word. A hopeful word. A word associated with spending time together. Food. Food. I nodded. He nodded. An agreement had been reached. Then, Leo. The office groaned. Actually groaned. Several people simultaneously, including me. Sterling stood outside his office, holding a folder. Of course he was. Why wouldn't he be? Quick meeting. No. The word slipped out before I could stop it. Silence. The entire office froze. So did I. Had I just told my boss no? I had. I absolutely had. My career flashed before my eyes. Sterling blinked. Once. Twice. Slowly. Excuse me? I panicked. Immediately. Not no. Interesting. Wrong word. Very. I had no idea what I meant. Nothing. I meant nothing. I was already dead. Then a voice cut through the silence. Sterling. Everyone turned. Alex, standing nearby. Watching, coffee in hand. Danger in their eyes. Sterling immediately straightened. Again. Interesting. Very interesting. Alex looked between us, then towards Sam, then back towards Sterling, and suddenly, everything clicked. You could literally see it happen. The realization, the understanding, the horrifying clarity. Alex stared at Sterling for several long seconds, then said, "You're not a manager?" Pause. The office leaned in. "You know that, right?" Sterling frowned. "What?" Alex pointed toward me, then Sam, then Sterling, and delivered the single most devastating sentence in company history. "You're a third wheel." Silence. Absolute silence. The office stopped breathing. I stopped breathing. Sam stopped breathing. Even the printer stopped making noises. Alex had achieved the impossible. They had stunned an entire building. Sterling looked offended, deeply offended. "What?" Alex sipped their coffee, completely calm. "They're obviously trying to spend time together." I nearly swallowed my tongue. Sam looked like he wanted the earth to consume him. The office collectively lost its mind. "Oh my God! I knew it!" Someone finally said it. "This is the best day of my life." Sterling stared at Alex. Alex stared back. Neither moved. It felt like watching two very different predators evaluate each other. Finally, Sterling spoke. "I'm managing." "No, I am. You're interrupting." "That's different." "It isn't." "It is." "It really isn't." I looked at Sam. Sam looked at me. Neither of us knew where to look anymore. Then something unexpected happened. Sterling hesitated, just slightly. A tiny pause, the kind most people would miss, but I saw it, and apparently Alex did too, because their expression softened only a little, then they sighed. "Have lunch," Sterling blinked. "What?" Alex pointed at me and Sam. "Let them have lunch." The office immediately applauded. Actually applauded. Someone whistled. Rachel nearly fell out of her chair, and for the first time since I'd started working here, Sterling looked embarrassed. Not angry, not annoyed. Embarrassed, which somehow felt more shocking. Eventually he muttered something, turned around, and disappeared into his office. The second the door closed, the office exploded. Again, chaos. Pure chaos. People cheering, people laughing, people quoting Alex. Rachel was crying, actual tears. "I love them." "You're being dramatic." "No." She pointed toward Alex. "That's my hero." Honestly? Fair? Lunch with Sam was surprisingly normal after that. Well, as normal as possible after an entire office witnessed your boss getting verbally executed. We walked to a sandwich place nearby. Neither of us spoke for a minute. Then, "Third wheel?" I groaned immediately. Sam laughed. "I'm never recovering." "No. Ever. Definitely not." I covered my face. "Can we move?" "Where? Anywhere. Different city. Different planet." "Reasonable." I smiled despite myself. Then, something strange happened. The conversation slowed. Not awkward. Just quieter. More comfortable. The kind of silence that doesn't need filling. The kind that feels easy. And dangerous. Because dangerous feelings usually arrive quietly. Not dramatically. Not all at once. Just little moments. Small moments. Like noticing his smile, or how he remembered details, or how talking to him never felt difficult. I pushed those thoughts away immediately. Because I was an adult. A professional. A functioning human being. Mostly. Probably. Unfortunately, back at the office, a completely different story was unfolding, because after lunch, Alex walked directly into Sterling's office and closed the door. Nobody knew what they discussed. Not officially. Unofficially? The office developed 17 theories. My favorite involved espionage. The least believable one involved professionalism. But one thing became obvious. Over the next few days, Sterling changed. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. He interrupted less, hovered less, micromanaged less. It was subtle, tiny, almost invisible, but it was happening, and every time Alex visited, the changes got stronger, which meant one thing. Something was happening between them. Something interesting. Something the office was absolutely going to obsess over. And if that wasn't enough, something else was changing too. Because for the first time since I'd met him, Sam had started looking at me differently, longer, softer, like he was trying to decide something. At the time, I didn't notice, because I was an idiot, a truly elite idiot, but everyone else noticed, especially Rachel, and especially Alex, which is why 3 days later, Alex would pull me aside, look me directly in the eyes, and ask, "How long exactly are you planning to be oblivious?" A question I was completely unprepared to answer. There are many phrases that should terrify office workers. We need to talk. Circle back. Mandatory overtime. But none of them, none, compared to the absolute horror of hearing mandatory team to building retreat. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Subject line: Brightforge team retreat. That exclamation point was threatening. I knew it. Everyone knew it. No good thing has ever required an exclamation point in a corporate email. I opened it, read the details, then immediately wished I hadn't. 3 days, 2 nights, mountain resort, team activities, group bonding, networking opportunities, trust exercises. My soul attempted to leave my body. Across from me, Sam read the same email, then slowly lowered his laptop. No, that's exactly what I said. No, it's the correct response. No. We stared at each other, united in suffering. Rachel suddenly appeared beside us, far too happy. Road trip. Why are you like this? I enjoy chaos. That's not healthy. She shrugged. Yet here I am. Unfortunately, HR confirmed attendance was mandatory. Mandatory, as in, show up or explain yourself. And nobody wanted to explain themselves to Denise. Nobody. Thursday morning arrived much faster than it should have. The company chartered a bus. Like we were children going to summer camp. I stood in the parking lot holding coffee in resentment. Employees slowly gathered. Some looked excited. Others looked frightened. The smart ones looked drunk already. Then Sam arrived, and suddenly I forgot what I was complaining about, which was becoming a recurring problem. He wore a dark hoodie, jeans, messy hair, and somehow looked annoyingly attractive while carrying a backpack. How? Why? Life isn't fair. Morning. You look thrilled. I considered driving into a lake. Strong start. I have standards. Before Sam could respond, a voice cut through the crowd. Good morning, team. Every employee groaned. Sterling, standing beside the bus, holding a clipboard. Why did he have a clipboard? Nobody knew, not even him probably. The clipboard felt emotional, like a coping mechanism. Then another car pulled into the parking lot. The entire office immediately perked up. Alex stepped out. Coffee in hand, sunglasses on, looking unfairly cool. Sterling visibly stood up straighter. I noticed. Rachel noticed. The office noticed. Alex noticed. That was the important one. Because the moment Alex saw Sterling adjusting his posture, they smiled, just slightly, and Sterling nearly walked into the bus. I witnessed it, personally. It was magnificent. Did you see that? Rachel whispered. See what? He's down bad. I nearly choked on air. Rachel. I'm right. Unfortunately, she was. The bus ride itself was surprisingly peaceful. At first, I grabbed a window seat. Sam sat beside me, which immediately improved my mood by approximately 80%. Not that I analyzed that, or thought about it, or had any concerning feelings whatsoever. Definitely not. The first hour passed quietly. People listened to music, watched videos, pretended they weren't trapped together. Then someone suggested games, and civilization collapsed. Within 20 minutes, half the office was yelling. Someone started karaoke. Accounting attempted trivia. Marketing cheated. Nobody was surprised. At one point I looked up and discovered Sterling sitting 2 rows ahead, listening very intently while Alex talked. Like, very intently. The kind of attention people only give when they're interested. Or being held hostage. And considering the way Sterling smiled whenever Alex looked at him, I had a theory. Unfortunately, I never got to explore that theory, because Sam nudged my shoulder. Look! I followed his gaze. toward the front of the bus, where two employees were passionately debating whether cereal counted as soup. I sat up, immediately invested. This again? It's an important issue. No, it isn't. History will remember this day. It really won't. The argument lasted 45 minutes. 45. I wish I were exaggerating. Eventually the bus reached the resort. And honestly, it was beautiful. Large cabins, mountain views, walking trails, a huge lodge. The kind of place that looked expensive enough to make me uncomfortable. Everyone unloaded luggage, checked in, pretended to be functioning adults. Then came the first activity, trust falls. I hate trust falls. They assume a level of optimism about humanity that I simply don't possess. A woman from HR stood in front of the group, smiling, far too much. Trust is the foundation of teamwork. No, deadlines are the foundation of teamwork. Fear. Fear is the foundation of teamwork. Trust falls are just gravity with extra steps. The activity began, employees paired off, people fell, people screamed, people survived, mostly. Then disaster arrived, because somehow, I ended up paired with Sam. I blame destiny. And probably Rachel. Rachel definitely had something to do with it. Ready? Sam asked. No, you have to. I don't. You do. I can leave. No. Watch me. He laughed. Traitor, absolute traitor. Then he held out his arms and smiled. That smile. That stupid smile. The one that always made me forget how conversations worked. Trust me. Now, I would like everyone to understand something. The problem wasn't the trust fall. The problem was the phrase, trust me, because my brain immediately became unusable. Completely unusable. I stared at him. Far longer than necessary, then finally turned around, closed my eyes, and fell backward for half a second, pure panic. Then strong arms caught me, steady, secure, effortless, and for one horrifying moment, I became very aware of how close we were. Then someone wolf whistled. The moment shattered instantly. Thank God. I jumped away like I'd been electrocuted. The office erupted into laughter. Rachel looked emotional, which was concerning. Very concerning. The afternoon only got worse, because the next activity was an escape room. Now, an escape room sounds fun. Until you remember coworkers are involved. Then it becomes a hostage situation. Our team included me, Sam, Rachel, Sterling, Alex, which should have been illegal. Within 10 minutes, Rachel was climbing furniture. Sterling was overthinking clues. Alex was making fun of Sterling, and Sam somehow solved 3 puzzles by himself. Meanwhile, I contributed absolutely nothing. At one point, I found a key. That was my entire achievement. A key. And honestly, I was proud. Then came the moment everyone would talk about for months, because Sterling discovered a clue. A real clue. An important clue. He immediately looked toward Alex, clearly expecting praise, validation, approval, something, anything. Alex examined the clue, nodded, then said, "Good job, that's it, 2 words. Good job." The effect was immediate. Sterling looked absurdly pleased. Absurdly, like a golden retriever receiving compliments. The entire room witnessed it. The entire room. Rachel physically grabbed my arm. Oh my God. I know. He likes them. I know. This is better than television. Honestly? Fair. By evening, everyone was exhausted. Dinner was served. People relaxed. The atmosphere softened. The chaos settled. For a little while, then came room assignments. And that's when everything exploded. Because the resort had made a mistake. A very large mistake. A catastrophic mistake. An office-changing mistake. A mistake that would alter the course of my entire life. The manager stood in the lobby looking panicked. Very panicked. The kind of panic that should make everyone nervous. And then he said the words that would haunt me. The words that made the entire office go silent. "We have a room shortage." Silence. Then, "What?" The manager swallowed. "There aren't enough rooms." The office erupted. Questions, complaints, confusion, chaos, pure chaos. I looked at Sam. Sam looked at me. Then both of us looked toward the manager, who was somehow getting paler. And then came the announcement. The announcement that would destroy whatever peace I still had. "We're going to have to pair some people together." The lobby exploded. Meanwhile, across the room, Rachel slowly smiled, and that smile terrified me more than the room shortage, because it looked like she had just received an early Christmas present, and unfortunately, she wasn't the only one. I want to begin by stating for the record that I was innocent. completely innocent. I did not cause the room shortage. I did not design the hotel. I did not choose the room assignments, and I certainly did not manifest the situation that followed. The universe did that. The universe, and possibly Rachel. Mostly Rachel. The lobby had descended into chaos. People were arguing. The resort manager looked seconds away from a stress-induced spiritual awakening, and Denise from HR was attempting to maintain order, which was difficult because half the company had suddenly become lawyers. I paid for a private room. You didn't pay for anything. That's not the point. It's exactly the point. Meanwhile, Rachel looked delighted. Dangerously delighted. The kind of delighted usually associated with cartoon villains. I didn't like it, not one bit. Then Denise raised her voice. Everyone calm down. Nobody calmed down. Please. A little better. Eventually, room assignments were redistributed. Names were called. People complained. People negotiated. People attempted bribery. Accounting was especially aggressive. Then Denise looked at her clipboard. Leo Carter. I straightened. Immediately nervous. No reason. Just instinct. The same instinct that tells you not to enter dark basements in horror movies. Samuel Reyes. My heart stopped, actually stopped, for a full second. Beside me, Sam blinked, then looked at me, then back at Denise, then back at me. The lobby suddenly felt very warm. Oh! That was all Sam said. Just, oh! Which somehow made everything worse. Rachel made a sound, a very small sound. The sound of a woman witnessing her favorite television ship becoming canon. Don't! She covered her mouth. I didn't say anything. You made a noise. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar. A complete liar. Unfortunately, things somehow got worse because across the room, Denise continued reading. Sterling Hayes. The boss looked up. Alex Morgan. Silence. Absolute silence. Then the entire office exploded. Again. Apparently room shortages were now comedy. Rachel physically grabbed a nearby chair for support. No. Oh my God. No. Alex looked amused. Sterling looked like someone had unplugged his brain. Honestly? Same. At that point, I couldn't even focus on them, because I had my own crisis. One currently standing beside me, looking entirely too calm. Well, Sam adjusted the strap on his bag. Looks like we're roommates. Roommates, a normal word, a harmless word. A word that definitely should not have caused my nervous system to malfunction. Yep. Excellent response. Very articulate, a true master of conversation. The room was on the 3rd floor, large, clean, mountain view, one bed, one bed. I stared at it, the bed stared back. Sam stared at the bed, then at me, then back at the bed. Neither of us spoke. The silence lasted approximately 10 years. Finally, there is only one. Yeah, one bed. That's generally how counting works. I hated myself. Immediately. Why was I like this? Sam laughed, which somehow made everything better. And worse. Mostly worse. The manager who escorted us looked apologetic. We can bring extra blankets. Great. We're very sorry. We appreciate it. The manager left. The door closed. And suddenly it was just us. Me, Sam. One room, one bed. An aggressively beautiful mountain view. And approximately 17,000 bad decisions waiting to happen. I sat on the edge of the mattress, trying to act normal. Trying very hard. Failing. Spectacularly. Then Sam dropped onto the bed beside me. Not close. Just close enough to remind me that he existed. Which was already a problem. We'll survive. Maybe. You sound doubtful. I know myself. That earned another laugh. God, that laugh. I needed him to stop doing that. For my health. The evening activities began shortly afterward. A large bonfire. Outdoor games. Food. Team bonding. Corporate attempts at joy. Surprisingly, it wasn't terrible. People relaxed. The office hierarchy disappeared. For the first time, everyone just felt like people. Even Sterling, though watching him attempt casual conversation with Alex remained one of the funniest experiences of my life. At one point, I witnessed him walk over confidently. Say something, Alex respond. Then Sterling immediately lose all ability to form coherent sentences. The transformation was incredible, like watching a software update fail in real time. Rachel nearly passed away. I've never seen him this human. Human is generous, fair. Then something unexpected happened. The group split apart naturally. People wandered, talked, explored, and somehow, Sam and I ended up sitting together near the edge of the lodge property, away from everyone else. The mountains stretched endlessly in front of us. The sky glowed orange. The air felt cooler, quieter. For a while, neither of us spoke. Not because it was awkward, because it wasn't. And that was the problem. Being around Sam was becoming too easy, dangerously easy. Eventually, he broke the silence. "Can I ask you something?" "Depends." "On what?" "Whether the answer embarrasses me." "It probably will." "Then no," he laughed, again, and looked out toward the mountains. "You always do that." "Do what?" "Make jokes when you're nervous." My heart skipped. Immediately, violently, I stared at him. "Excuse me?" "You do." "No. You do." "I don't." "You absolutely do." I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out, which was unfortunate because he was right. I hated when he was right. "Okay," he smiled. "Okay." The silence returned, gentler this time. Then Sam asked, "Are you happy here?" The question surprised me. A little. Maybe more than a little, because nobody had asked that before. Not really. I looked down, thinking, then sighed. "Honestly? Yeah, most days." "Most days?" I shrugged. I spent a long time trying to figure out what I was doing with my life. The words came easier than expected. Maybe because it was dark. Maybe because it was Sam. Probably because it was Sam. I thought everyone else had everything figured out. He nodded, understanding immediately. "I still think that sometimes." "Really?" "All the time." That surprised me because Sam always seemed so confident, so comfortable, so certain. Apparently he noticed my expression because he smiled, a little sadly. "People think I'm confident." "Aren't you?" "No." That answer hit harder than it should have. "No?" He shook his head. "I just hide panic better." I laughed softly. "That's your secret. That's everyone's secret." Maybe he was right. The realization settled between us. Comfortable, honest, real. For the first time all day, neither of us were joking. Neither of us were hiding. And somehow that felt more intimate than anything else. Eventually we headed back inside. The bonfire was dying. People were heading to their rooms. The retreat was winding down. And unfortunately, that meant returning to the room. Returning to the bed. Returning to my personal nightmare. The room was quiet. Dimly lit. Peaceful. Sam disappeared into the bathroom first, leaving me alone with my thoughts. A terrible decision. Because my thoughts were idiots, I sat on the edge of the mattress, staring out the window, thinking about the conversation. Thinking about Sam. Thinking about how much I liked talking to him. How easy everything felt. How much I looked forward to seeing him every day. How much... No, absolutely not. We weren't doing that. I was not analyzing feelings at midnight. That was future Leo's problem. Then the bathroom door opened, and future Leo became present Leo's problem. Because Sam stepped out wearing a dark t-shirt, hair slightly damp, looking unfairly attractive for absolutely no reason. I immediately looked away. For legal reasons, and survival reasons, mostly survival reasons. "Everything okay?" "No," he paused, then laughed. "That bad?" "You have no idea." Unfortunately, he really didn't. Not yet, but he would. Because later that night, long after the lights went out, long after the room grew quiet, long after both of us should have been asleep, a conversation would begin, a conversation that changed everything, and by morning, nothing between us would feel quite the same anymore. There should be laws against late-night conversations. Seriously, someone should regulate them, because nothing good ever happens after midnight. You either make terrible decisions, reveal personal information, develop feelings, or all three. Unfortunately for me, I achieved the hat trick. The room was dark. The mountain air drifted softly through the cracked window. And despite being exhausted, I couldn't sleep, which wasn't unusual. I've always been bad at sleeping. My brain likes to use nighttime as an opportunity to review every embarrassing thing I've ever done, including things that happened 10 years ago, including things that weren't even embarrassing. My brain isn't picky. Beside me, Sam shifted slightly, then sighed. "You awake?" I froze, for absolutely no reason. "Maybe." "That's not an answer." "Maybe isn't an answer?" "No, feels like an answer." Sam laughed quietly, and somehow it sounded different in the dark. Softer, more personal, more dangerous. "Can't sleep?" "No." "Me neither." Wonderful. Now there were two of us. For a while, neither of us spoke. The room settled into silence. Comfortable silence. The kind that only exists between people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. Eventually, Sam broke it. "Can I tell you something?" The question felt heavier than it should have. "Sure." A pause. Long enough that I thought he might change his mind. Then, "I almost didn't take this job." That surprised me. I turned slightly, just enough to see his silhouette. "What?" "Yeah." "Why?" Another pause. "I got another offer." "Higher pay?" "Better benefits?" "Definitely." I frowned. "Then why'd you choose Bright Forge?" The silence stretched, longer this time, thoughtful, almost hesitant. Then, "I like the people here." Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten, because it sounded honest, painfully honest, and maybe a little lonely. "I get that. Yeah?" "Yeah." I stared at the ceiling, thinking I almost didn't take this job either. "Really? Why not?" I laughed quietly. "Because I was terrified." That earned a soft chuckle. "Fair. I spent the entire week before my interview convinced I'd ruin my life. You walked into a glass door." "I didn't know you knew about that." The betrayal, the absolute betrayal. Sam was openly laughing now. Actually laughing. I wasn't supposed to know. I was hoping everyone forgot. "Leo!" His voice shook with amusement. The receptionist told literally everyone. I covered my face, in the dark, alone, at midnight, because apparently humiliation had no schedule. Unbelievable. "You became a legend. This is the worst thing you've ever said to me." "It isn't." "Fair." That one belonged in the top 10. The laughter faded gradually, leaving something quieter behind. Something warmer. Then Sam asked, "Can I ask you another question?" "Dangerous, very dangerous." "Depends." "There you go again." "Going where?" Deflecting. I pointed toward the ceiling. "Objection." "Denied. Traitor, absolute traitor." Then he asked, "Why don't you think people like you?" The words hit harder than they should have. My smile disappeared. Not completely. Just enough. Because that question landed a little too close to home. I stared into the darkness, suddenly very awake. "What? You always do it." "I don't." "You do." His voice remained gentle, not teasing, not mocking, just observant. Every compliment becomes a joke. I swallowed. "That's not true." "It is." I hated that he was right. Again, a terrible habit of his, the worst habit. Then he said something that completely dismantled my defenses. "Leo, just my name, nothing else." And somehow that made it harder to avoid. I sighed, long and slow, then admitted, "I don't know." The honesty surprised even me. "I guess." I hesitated, searching for the right words. I spent a long time being the weird kid. The room remained quiet, patient, waiting, so I continued. "I was awkward, still are. Thank you. You're welcome." I laughed despite myself, then kept going. I always felt like everyone else understood something I didn't. The confession hung there, raw, embarrassingly honest. "But eventually you grow up." I shrugged. "Only nobody tells you that sometimes those feelings grow up too." Silence. Not awkward, just thoughtful. Then, "I know that feeling." The words were so quiet I almost missed them. For a second I forgot how to breathe, because there was something vulnerable in his voice. Something real. Something he'd never shown me before. Then Sam laughed softly, though it sounded different, more tired. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "People think I'm confident." "Yeah, they think I don't get nervous." I smiled. "You literally told me that earlier." "True." A pause, then, "But I do." The room suddenly felt much smaller, much quieter, much more dangerous. "I get nervous all the time." I frowned. "About what?" Another pause, long, too long, then, "People I care about." My heart stopped, actually stopped, just for a second. The words settled heavily between us. People I care about, something about the way he said it. The softness, the hesitation, the vulnerability. My chest tightened painfully, and for the first time something shifted, not in him, in me, a realization, tiny, incomplete, but growing, like the first crack in a dam, because suddenly, I didn't want him talking about someone else. The thought arrived unexpectedly, uninvited, and immediately ruined my entire night. "Wait. What?" I blinked, confused, concerned, deeply concerned, because that wasn't normal. Friends didn't think that, right? Right? Oh no, no, absolutely not. Across the room, future problems began lining up politely. Then Sam spoke again, saving me from my spiraling, completely unintentionally. "Can I tell you a secret?" I swallowed, sure. I hate rejection. I blinked. That wasn't what I expected. "What?" "I know." He laughed quietly. "It's pathetic. It isn't. It kind of is. No. This time I answered immediately, without thinking, because it wasn't pathetic. Not even a little. Everyone hates rejection, especially when it matters, especially when someone matters. Then Sam sighed, the sound carrying softly through the darkness. I think some things become scarier when they're important. My chest hurt, a little, because suddenly I understood. Maybe not everything, but enough. Enough to know he wasn't talking about jobs, or presentations, or work. And maybe that scared me more than it should have. Eventually the conversation drifted. Lighter topics, movies, college, bad roommates, embarrassing stories. The tension eased, but something had changed. I could feel it, even if I didn't fully understand it yet. Eventually silence returned. Real silence. The sleepy kind. The comfortable kind. The kind that means a conversation has reached its natural end. Good night, Leo. His voice sounded warm, soft, safe, and for some reason that made my chest ache. Good night. The room settled. The mountains remained quiet. The world slowed, and eventually I fell asleep. The next morning should have been normal. It wasn't, because when I woke up, Sam was still asleep. And unfortunately, that was the exact moment my life became significantly more complicated. The morning light spilled through the window, soft and golden, and there he was, peaceful, relaxed, completely unaware for one dangerous second. I just looked at him, then immediately sat upright, horrified, because suddenly a thought appeared, clear, unavoidable, and impossible to ignore. I liked him. Not maybe, not potentially, not eventually. I liked him. A lot. Oh no! The words escaped before I could stop them. Beside me, Sam stirred, still half asleep. Huh? I panicked instantly. No reason. He yawned, eyes still closed, and smiled slightly. A sleepy, unconscious smile. The kind that should have been illegal. My soul left my body, immediately. I stood up, walked directly into a chair, and nearly died. Sam opened one eye, watching me. Confused. Leo? Yes? What are you doing? I don't know anymore. And unfortunately, that was the most honest thing I'd said all weekend, because now I had a problem. A real problem. A serious problem. The kind of problem that followed you home. The kind of problem that sat across from you every day. The kind of problem with blue eyes. A beautiful smile, and absolutely no idea what he'd done to me. At least, I hoped he didn't, because if he did, then things were about to get a lot more complicated. And judging by the way Alex was looking between us at breakfast, someone had definitely figured it out. The problem with realizing you're in love with your best friend is that absolutely nothing changes. And yet somehow everything changes. Sam still sat across from me, still stole my snacks, still sent me ridiculous Slack messages, still laughed at my jokes, still smiled whenever he saw me. Objectively, nothing was different. Subjectively, I was fighting for my life. Monday morning arrived, and I immediately regretted existing, because the moment I walked into the office, Sam smiled. That was it, just smiled. A normal smile, a completely innocent smile. And my brain instantly forgot how doors worked. I walked directly into the side of one, again. The office erupted, immediately, twice. He did it again. Someone write this down. I'm crying. I considered quitting. Not my job. Life. Just temporarily. Sam was laughing so hard he couldn't speak. Traitor. Absolute traitor. You okay? No. Good. How is that good? Consistency is important. I pointed at him. He pointed back. This was apparently our relationship now. God, relationship. That word alone nearly killed me. Because now every interaction felt suspicious. Every smile, every laugh, every moment, my own emotions had become workplace hazards. Unfortunately, the office had problems of its own. Specifically, the conspiracy board had returned, and somehow it was worse, much worse. I discovered this when Rachel dragged me into the break room, against my will. Look, I don't want to. Look, I looked, and immediately wished I hadn't. The board now occupied an entire wall. An entire wall. There were charts, graphs, color coding. Someone had added timestamps. The center still featured me, which felt targeted, very targeted. But now the board had split into categories: the Sterling theory, the Sam theory, the love triangle theory. I stared, long, silent, horrified, then pointed. What is that? Rachel followed my finger. Oh, that's the evidence section. The evidence section, of course, naturally. Why wouldn't there be an evidence section? One note read, Sam always saves him a seat. Another, they eat tea lunch together. Another, they have inside jokes. A final note simply read, "Look at them. I nearly passed away." "Who made this?" Rachel looked away. "Interesting. Very interesting." "You made this?" "No." "You absolutely made this?" "No." "You color-coded it." "That proves nothing. Criminal. Actual criminal behavior." Then things became worse because Alex walked in, saw the board, and immediately started laughing, not politely, not professionally, genuinely laughing. The kind that made them grab the counter for support. I pointed at the board. "Help. No. Please. No. Alex." They wiped a tear from their eye, then pointed toward the Sam section. No. Stop meaning." They laughed harder, completely unhelpful. Then their expression softened, just slightly, and they said, "You know everyone can see it, right?" My heart stopped. "What?" Alex blinked, then frowned. Actually frowned. Like they had just realized something terrible, something deeply unfortunate. "Oh, that wasn't a good O. That was a dangerous O. The kind of O that precedes disasters." Then they looked at me, really looked, and suddenly covered their face. "Oh my God." "What?" "You actually don't know." "What?" "Never mind." "What?" They refused to answer, which should be illegal. Personally, I think withholding information should be punishable by law, especially when that information concerns my emotional stability. The rest of the day was torture. Pure torture. Because now I couldn't stop noticing things. Sam remembered my coffee order. Sam noticed when I skipped lunch. Sam automatically handed me the blue sticky notes because he knew I hated the yellow ones. How long had he been doing that? How had I never noticed? Was I blind? Probably. The answer was probably. Then came Wednesday. And with it, the disaster. Every great office catastrophe deserves a name. This one earned it. It started with an email. A simple email. A harmless email. The deadliest kind. Subject: mandatory HR meeting. The entire office groaned. Simultaneously, like a choir of suffering. Nobody wanted HR meetings, especially not after the rumor. Unfortunately, attendance was required. At 2 o'clock, everyone gathered in the conference room. Denise stood at the front, professional as always, dangerous as always. The room settled. Silence. Then Denise cleared her throat. "Today we're discussing workplace professionalism." Immediately suspicious. Extremely suspicious. People exchanged looks. Rachel visibly sat up straighter. The woman smelled drama, like a shark smells blood. Denise continued, specifically, "Uh-oh. Rumors." The entire room froze. Every single person. I knew. Instantly, I knew. This was about me. I didn't know how, but I knew. Then Denise clicked the projector, and my soul left my body. Because there, projected on the screen, in high definition, was a photo of the conspiracy board. Silence. Absolute silence. Then someone whispered, "Oh no." Correct. Oh no. Exactly. Denise pinched the bridge of her nose, the universal sign of workplace disappointment. "This," she pointed, "needs to stop." Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. Nobody moved. Then Sterling raised his hand. Of course he did. Naturally. Why wouldn't he? Denise looked tired already. "Yes?" Sterling frowned. The timeline was inaccurate. The room exploded. People fell out of chairs. Someone actually hit the floor. Alex physically walked away. They couldn't handle it. Rachel was crying. Again, actual tears. Because somehow, Sterling's biggest concern was still the timeline, not the rumors, not the board, not the insanity. The timeline. Denise looked moments away from retirement. "That's not the point. It included incorrect data." "That is not the point." The office collapsed into complete chaos. Laughter everywhere. People dying. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. Then in the middle of the madness, someone accidentally said it. Nobody knew who. Nobody admitted it. But somebody did. Some brave idiot. Or perhaps a suicidal one. A voice from the back yelled, "He's obviously into Sam anyway." Silence. Instant. Complete. Catastrophic silence. The world stopped. My heart stopped. Sam froze. The office froze. Rachel froze. Even Denise froze. Every head turned toward me. Every single head, including Sam's. Time ceased to exist. My soul ascended, then descended, then ascended again. Because suddenly everyone was looking at me. Waiting. Watching. Realization slowly spread across the room. One person, then another, until an entire office simultaneously reached the same conclusion. Oh my God. The atmosphere shifted, completely. The rumor changed, right there, instantly, in real time, like watching a weather front move across a map. The office no longer looked interested. Now they looked enlightened, which was worse, much worse. Rachel slowly sat back in her chair, looking emotionally fulfilled. Alex covered their eyes. Sam looked like he couldn't decide whether to laugh or run away. And me? I was having a medical event. A spiritual event, possibly both. Then Denise stood, clapped once, loudly, everyone jumped. Meeting over. Nobody argued. Nobody resisted. People fled. Immediately. Like survivors escaping a natural disaster. Within seconds, the conference room emptied, leaving only a few stragglers, including me, unfortunately, because now there was another problem, a much bigger problem. I looked up, and discovered Sam hadn't left, neither had I, and suddenly, for the first time in months, we were alone, completely alone. The room felt smaller, quieter, dangerous. Sam rubbed the back of his neck, looking oddly nervous, which wasn't helping. Nothing about this was helping. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and softly said, "Leo." Just my name, nothing else. But somehow it felt like the beginning of something. Something important. Something terrifying. Something I'd been moving toward for months without realizing it. And judging by the expression on his face, he knew it too. The problem was, neither of us had any idea what to say next. The day everything finally made sense, the conference room was quiet, dangerously quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you aware of every sound, every movement, every breath, and, unfortunately, every feeling. Sam stood across from me, looking nervous. Actually nervous, which somehow terrified me more than everything that had happened in the last 6 months combined. Because Sam wasn't usually nervous, not visibly, not like this. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The HR meeting disaster still lingered in the air. The conspiracy board, the rumors, the accidental public call-out, my ongoing psychological collapse, all of it. Then Sam laughed, softly, almost helplessly, and somehow that made everything feel more real. Well? Well, brilliant, incredible, a masterclass in communication. We were crushing it. Sam rubbed the back of his neck, looking at the floor for a second, then at me, then away again, and suddenly I realized something. He was stalling, which meant he was scared. And for some reason, that realization hurt, because Sam was always the calm one, the confident one, the steady one. Seeing him nervous made me want to fix it, even though I had absolutely no idea how. Then he sighed, and finally spoke. "You know what's really annoying?" My heart immediately started doing cartwheels. "What?" A pause, then a laugh, the kind people make when they've completely run out of options. "You." I blinked. "What?" "You." "Rude. You are. I feel attacked." "You should," I pointed at him. He ignored me, which felt unfair. Then he smiled, a small smile, soft, fond, dangerous, and everything inside me stopped working. "You know what's even more annoying?" "What?" "I really like you. The world ended. That's the only explanation. Civilization collapsed. The economy disappeared. The sun exploded. Because there was absolutely no way he had just said that. No way. My brain refused to process it. Completely nothing happened. No thoughts, no comprehension, just static. Sam stared, waiting. Then, "Leo?" I continued staring. "Leo?" Still nothing. I was gone. Mentally, spiritually, academically, completely gone. Finally he laughed. "Oh my God." "What?" "There you are." "I think my brain died." "Yeah. I heard it happen." "That's rude. You stopped blinking." "Fair. A devastatingly fair point." I sat down, immediately, because my legs had resigned. Then I looked up at him, still standing there, still smiling, still looking nervous. And suddenly something clicked. Not all at once, just enough. Enough to realize this wasn't a joke. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't wishful thinking. Sam liked me. Sam liked me. "Oh, brilliant. Truly. An intellectual giant." Sam laughed. Again. "I know. No." I pointed dramatically. "No, Leo. You don't understand." "I think I do." "No." I stood up. Immediately sat back down. Too much emotion. Dangerous. Then tried again, successfully this time. "You don't understand." His smile softened. Then, "Explain." And suddenly, the words arrived all at once, months' worth, maybe longer. I thought I was losing my mind. The confession came out before I could stop it, honest, messy, real. I thought I was imagining things. Sam's expression changed, just slightly, more attentive, more serious, so I continued. because if I stopped now I'd never recover. I kept noticing things. I laughed, nervously, hopelessly. The way you remember everything. The way you always save me a seat. The way you know when I'm having a bad day. The way I stopped. Because there were too many, far too many. Sam was staring now, completely still, and for once, neither of us were joking, neither of us were hiding, neither of us were pretending. Then I admitted the truth, the whole truth, the terrifying truth. I really like you too. The silence that followed felt different. The silence stretched. Not awkward, just new, different. The kind of silence that happens when two people suddenly realize everything has changed. Sam was still smiling. I was still trying to remember how breathing worked. Neither of us seemed particularly successful. Then Sam laughed softly. You know? What? I had this whole speech planned. You did? Yeah. What happened to it? You happened to it. Fair. A devastatingly fair answer. I smiled despite myself. Then looked down. Then back up. Then immediately wished I hadn't. Because Sam was standing closer now. Not dramatically closer. Just enough that my last functioning brain cell quietly gathered its belongings and left. Oh, yeah. You're standing closer. Good observation. I notice things sometimes. Rarely. Rude, he laughed. And suddenly neither of us were looking away, which felt dangerous. Very dangerous. The room seemed quieter somehow. Smaller. Like the rest of the world had politely left. Then Sam rubbed the back of his neck, looking unexpectedly nervous again. Can I ask you something? My heart attempted to escape. Sure. His smile softened. Just a little, then, can I kiss you? Every thought I had immediately resigned. No notice, no explanation. Gone. I stared. Brilliantly, heroically, like a man experiencing his final brain cell in real time. Sam laughed. Leo, sorry. What? I think my soul just left. That made him laugh harder, which somehow helped. A little, not much, but enough. I took a breath, then another. Then nodded. Yeah. His expression changed instantly, warmer, softer, like he couldn't quite believe it either. Then he stepped closer, slow enough that I could stop him, slow enough that I could move away. I didn't, not even a little. And when he kissed me, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect. It was nervous, careful, brief. The kind of kiss that feels less like fireworks and more like finally finding something you've been looking for. When he pulled back, we just stared at each other. Then, wow, I nodded. Wow. Another pause, then Sam smiled. Still think I wasn't obvious? I immediately shoved his shoulder. And he nearly doubled over laughing. Lighter, warmer, like something had finally settled into place. Like a puzzle piece finding where it belonged. And then, Sam smiled. Not his normal smile, not the casual one, not the teasing one. This one was different, brighter, happier, the kind of smile people can't fake. And suddenly every stupid meeting, every interrupted lunch, every ridiculous rumor, every disaster felt worth it. Almost, mostly. Then Sam laughed. I spent 4 months trying to ask you out. I blinked. What? 4 months? No. Yes. No. Leo. I pointed at him, accusingly. You should have been more obvious. The look he gave me, the sheer disbelief, the absolute audacity. I bought you lunch. Friendly. I remembered your coffee order. Friendly. I literally drove across town to help you move apartments. I froze. Oh. Oh. I may have missed some signs. You think? In my defense, actually no. There was no defense. I had been catastrophically oblivious. The office was going to be unbearable. I knew it immediately, and unfortunately, I was right, because somehow everyone found out. Within an hour, 1 hour, we never made an announcement. We never told anyone. Nobody witnessed anything. Yet the second we stepped back onto the office floor, the entire building knew. Rachel screamed. Actually screamed. Then ran a victory lap around the office. Accounting started applauding. Marketing looked emotionally invested. Someone released balloons. Balloons. Where had they come from? Nobody knew. Nobody asked. At this point, it was safer not to. Meanwhile, Alex looked completely unsurprised, which was irritating. Very irritating. You knew. Obviously. I hate that. Everyone knew. That hurt, personally, deeply. Then Alex glanced towards Sterling, who was standing nearby, trying very hard not to look at them, failing spectacularly. Interesting. Very interesting. Alex followed my gaze, then sighed. He still thinks he's subtle. I laughed immediately because no, he wasn't. Not even a little. A few days later, the office received another surprise, this one significantly less chaotic. Sterling asked Alex out. Technically. Sort of. In Sterling's defense, he appeared to be fighting for his life. The conversation happened in the break room. Half the office witnessed it. The other half received live updates. Because workplace gossip is faster than the internet. Apparently Sterling walked up, said, "Would you maybe want dinner?" Then immediately looked like he regretted being born. Alex stared for 3 seconds, then smiled, and said, "Took you long enough." The office nearly exploded. Again. At that point, explosions had become a company tradition. Months later, things settled. Mostly. The rumors died. Mostly. The conspiracy board disappeared. Officially. Though I'm fairly certain Rachel kept photos. For historical reasons. The printer remained evil. Some things never change. But other things did. Lunches became dates. Coffee runs became traditions. Workdays became easier. Not because life suddenly became perfect. Because it didn't. Deadlines still existed. Clients were still terrifying. The printer was still a criminal. But now, there was someone beside me through all of it. Someone who understood. Someone who stayed. Someone who felt like home. And honestly, that was enough. So, that's the story. The story of how HR thought I was dating my boss. How my boss accidentally became a third wheel. How an entire office became emotionally invested in my love life. How a conspiracy board almost ruined civilization. And how I somehow ended up with the best boyfriend I could have asked for. The printer caught fire 2 weeks later. Nobody was surprised. The office held a small ceremony. Rachel cried. Again. Sterling and Alex argued about whether the printer was cursed. It absolutely was. And as I stood there watching everyone laugh, watching Sam roll his eyes beside me, watching the chaos I'd somehow come to love, I realized something. Maybe success isn't having everything figured out. Maybe success is finding people who make the confusion worth it. People who make ordinary days feel special. People who make you want to stay, even when the printer's actively trying to kill everyone. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good ending. Or at least, the beginning of one. And that, everyone, is how HR thought I was dating my boss. If you enjoyed Leo and Sam's story, make sure you hit that like button because it really helps the channel. And if you're new here and want more slow burn BL stories, awkward idiots in love, and emotionally invested office gossipers, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Let me know in the comments what you love most in the story. When did you realize Sam liked Leo? Because apparently everybody knew except Leo, and I'll see you in the next story.